UFC 319 wrapped up last night. The middleweight division has a new champion, Khamzat Chimaev. Long overdue, finally gets his UFC belt. Now, the fight has had kind of a polarizing reaction. I think probably most people will say it was boring. Most people will say it wasn't very good. Now, I'm going to say my opinion is, yeah, I did think it was a little bit boring. All right, yeah, the thumbnail, the title, it is a little clickbaity, I will say. But I don't think it was as to the extent of boring as people are making it out to be. And I think a lot of interesting things happened. I think a lot of narratives were created and shattered last night. We're going to talk about the rounds and what happened in each round. We're going to talk about what could be next for these fighters. But without further ado, let's get started. And I would like to first say that Khamzat Chimaev, he has a great gas tank. He has a good gas tank. We can't really doubt his gas tank like we used to. He was much more there at the end in the fifth round than DDP was. DDP had a good position in the fifth round we'll talk about later. But anyway, without further ado, round one, takedown immediately for Khamzat Chimaev. I think they exchanged a little bit, but it was immediate takedown. And DDP tries to get a ghillie attempt. That was kind of his only defense for a lot of these takedowns, was a really shitty ghillie attempt. You know, I'm sure it made Dustin Poirier proud, but not a good game plan in any way. We'll get more into that too, as well as Dricus Du Plessis' dumb team and coach. What were they thinking? I mean, you knew exactly what Chimaev is going to do. You know exactly what Khamzat's game plan is. You know what his fighting style is. You know that he's a two-time wrestling champion of Sweden. You had months to prepare for this specific style, and it seemed like you did nothing to stop these things. He took him down with ease. Maybe that just shows how good Khamzat is, but it seemed like Dricus's team, his training camp was built around the idea that Khamzat was going to gas out within the first couple rounds. Really stupid decision making by Dricus's gym, his coach, and everyone. Just very stupid shit. Anyway, so yeah, takedown immediately in the beginning of the first round. Khamzat was so fast with his takedowns that I don't even think DDP got his hands down in time. He never even got close. It was so fast. And this was the round where the beginning of the crucifix. We saw the first crucifix in this round. The first of many. I think it probably broke the record for the most amount of crucifixes in a title fight. I'm not even joking. Someone please look that up. And when Khamzat had him in these positions, when he had him in the crucifixes, DDP barely moved his hips around. Like, he did a couple times make some explosive movements, but then he would just kind of give up and then kind of move his hips and legs, try to run a circular motion. His wrestling takedown defense and his just wrestling IQ was awful. It was so bad. DDP, for the most part, accepted this position throughout this fight, throughout this round and throughout all the fight. Also in the first round, a little bit near the end, there was a blatant fence grab by DDP with his fingers fully in the fence, grabbing it to leverage himself while dealing with Khamzat on top of him. Khamzat, he kept him on bottom for that entire round until the end. And we saw, I think, another shitty ghillie attempt near the end of it. Again, shout out Dustin Poirier. Round two begins. A couple kicks are exchanged by the two fighters, and then boom, another takedown by Khamzat Chimaev. Very easy, just like in the first round. Knees to the thigh. This is when the knees to the thigh started to become a factor in the fight. They really played a part. Like, I think you guys saw at the end, his DDP's legs were all red and beaten up. And so a lot of the knees were landing to like the thighs, the glutes, but also the rib cage of DDP. So it did all play a part on fucking with his gas tank. And every time DDP tried to get up, Khamzat dragged him right back to the ground. Round two was a continuation of the first. Now, one thing I'm going to say about, how the title was clickbaity and how I kind of agree with some of the critics, the haters about this fight. Yes, it was disappointing. Like, I obviously I kind of wanted this fight to end within the first two rounds, and Khamzat's favor. That didn't happen. And I do like how we saw this, unique style from Dricus Du Plessis just get completely shut down. Like this unorthodox puzzle that nobody could figure out. Like even when it seemed like people were beating him, like Adesanya, when it seemed like he was piecing him up, hitting him to the body and all that, Dricus just pulled something out and submitted him just like that. Saw it with the Derek Brunson fight. And it was the Derek Brunson fight that I think, in my opinion, gave me the idea that this would be easy for Khamzat. Now, I didn't think the fight was going to extend this long and go the distance, but, So, round 2, more domination, just like the first round. This is a picture from the fight that I really like a lot. In round 3, there was crucifix again, and DDP uses his legs to move in a circle. This is like, as I was saying in the second round, but he starts really doing it here. And like I said, just no wrestling IQ in particular. This is also the round where when Khamzat got him in the crucifix, he started landing smashing elbows to Dricus's dome. I mean, I just can't believe how do you get caught in a crucifix, that same move, multiple times? Because we don't see crucifixes that often. And he got caught in it so many times. That just still boggles my mind. Anyway, a lot of Dricus's problems on the ground, too, it seemed like he didn't know what to do with his arms. Like, he would just kind of flail his arms, or he kind of put them behind the back of Khamzat's head. He would kind of smack him in the side of the head. He would put his arms together or something, like he was trying to defend a submission, but even though there were barely any submission attempts by Khamzat. Big issue I had with Khamzat in this fight is that, he just, going for crucifix and mauling the guy, but where was your finishing ability, dude? Where was that, energy you had against Robert Whittaker, against Gilbert Burns? Like, fucking, I wanted, I kind of see where the haters come from a little bit. Where a lot of the criticism comes from that you see from the MMA community is like, you did kind of want to see a little bit of that chaotic Khamzat come out. I wanted to see that chaotic fucking sped fucking crazy ass fucking Khamzat come out, like against Gilbert Burns at MSG, where he's just throwing the kitchen sink at him every second of that fight. But yeah, it continues. And it went like this all fight. They exchange a little bit on the feet, and then Khamzat gets a quick takedown so fast that DDP barely has time to do anything. And when DDP is fighting for his life or scrambling, Khamzat always gets his way. He just drags him down against his will. Anyway, yeah, this is round 4. 3 and 4 is when you start to see Dricus get increasingly more slower on the feet. And that, with the combination of Khamzat's non-eagerness to finish, it does get annoying. It did get annoying and boring, a little boring at times. But I do still not find this fight the most boring. I still think there's more boring examples, like Usman and Woodley was more boring than this fight, in my opinion. Lewis versus Ngannou was more boring. I think there's worse egregious crimes than this. Anyway, yeah, so round 4, while Dricus was on the bottom, he just continued to not know what to do with his arms, getting caught in crucifixes. And also in round 4 is when Mark Goddard, the referee, does fucking the beginning of something so stupid to help Dricus Du Plessis out against Khamzat. He allows them to stand up despite the fact that Khamzat had a dominant position on him in round 4, and immediately takes him down. All right. The MMA gods saw that. They saw Mark Goddard, what he was trying to do. They said, fuck that. They allowed Khamzat to get another takedown on Dricus. At this point, at the end of the round, unlike what many people are saying that Dricus never got damaged, at the end of the 4th round, Dricus is visibly dripping blood from his face. All right, round 5. This was probably Dricus's best round, but despite the fact, still an easy win to give to Khamzat. Still an easy round to give to Khamzat. So early shot and takedown, and that was another thing about this, is a lot of these takedowns were like right after Khamzat would throw a quick shot. All right, if you saw the strikes, it was like 500 strikes Khamzat threw to like 23 by Dricus. It was crazy. All right. Khamzat would throw these quick strikes that I think kind of went over people's head, or they just didn't really pay attention, or were already so petty and upset they didn't care to look at the screen. But Khamzat was throwing these quick fucking strikes and connecting to Dracus's face right before he would shoot for these quick takedowns and get his hips. Anyway, round 5, more of the same until the end. It's very embarrassing. Overall, this was embarrassing for Dricus and his team. But near the end, we see Dricus does get a good connection. And he does end the fight somewhat on top. However, I think overall, Khamzat was striking cleaner in that round. Despite the fact that Dricus did make a really good connection in the 5th round. Probably his best and only good connection of that entire fight. I can't even believe he got 23 strikes. I don't even believe that statistic. Anyway, sorry. Looking at my notes and it's just a bunch of fucking gibberish and dumb shit because it's all sloppy writing and no, I just put good gas tank exclamation mark. Yeah, so sorry, just struggling to read my own unintelligible fucking writing. Anyway, yeah, a couple more shitty gilly moments by Khamzat. By the way, there was like a moment I see fans and fucking haters, people fucking hate Khamzat saying, oh, Dracus came closest for a finishing sequence when he had him in trouble and in a fucking in a guillotine or in the submission. I was watching the 5th round and every time Dracus had him in a little bit of trouble or in some kind of under his chin or somewhere under around his neck, what is it called? Khamzat would just pop his head right out. It wouldn't even last. It would just be like he had him for there in a couple seconds, and then Khamzat would pop his head out. There was really no dominant there was like no signs of dominance from Dracus anywhere. Anyway, these statistics prove my point. I don't even believe there were 45 or like 60. He landed 45 out of 68 total strikes. I don't believe that. I barely saw Dracus throw shit. All right. Anyway, pure domination by Khamzat. Really, but a little disappointing at the same time as you wanted to see more finishing ability. Go for the submission attempts. You could have finished this guy. I feel like Khamzat could have finished this fight way earlier. But a clear point I wanted to make, I tweeted about this earlier. If you're more mad at Khamzat than Dricus Du Plessis' stupid idiot coach, you're a dumbass. You're an actual dumbass, all right? I'm going to play this clip. This clip is from training in South Africa. This is Dracus' coach. I forgot his fucking name, but here he is talking boldly. Here he is talking boldly about how they're going to beat Khamzat and the kind of threat he poses against Dracus. So those words are just going to haunt him for the rest of his life. That's all I'm going to say about that. I mean, obviously, actually, I won't say that's all to say about it. There is a little bit more to say. Why would you throw your own fighter under the bus like that, dude? I mean, after something like that, you almost have to training camp. Like, I think Dracus should come to the United States and train for a while in the U.S. Man, that was just bad. I mean, you watch any tape on Khamzat, it's clear. He might not always be the best striking defensively, like he does get caught a lot. But to say he's not even a threat on the feet and he's not, all he has is wrestling is so idiotic and dumb and so immature for a coach to say and to boldly claim. And you can tell they believe that. They truly believe that because look how Dracus performed throughout this fight. His game plan was shit. He got taken down with ease, put in the same crucifix over and over again. This is shit that people at gym, like beginners, learn how to defend against crucifixes. This is so bad. I mean, anyway, yeah. I am happy for Khamzat. A little disappointed on how the fight turned out, but happy for Khamzat nonetheless. And I think people should give him less shit and just be more excited at the fact that we have, Khamzat's here. He's the champ. And come on, like, that's just his only boring fucking performance. All right, I think the Usman one is a little bit overhated, but outside of last night's fight, what other boring performances has he really been in? All right, Gilbert Burns, that was a fucking barn burner. That was such a fun fight. Even Whitaker was a quick, finish, really fun. Dismantling Kevin Holland, dismantling the Leech. Another fun fight. I think Usman was a fun fight. All right. I know not everyone agrees. I think it was a fun fight. You have to, watch that fight with the fact that it was a day's notice, less than 24 hours notice. And it was Paulo Costa's fucking fault. I think people forget that. They act like it was Khamzat's fault why that fight was boring. Or sorry, why that fight was a little bit lackluster. It wasn't that boring. Anyway, thank you. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think should be Khamzat's first title defense? Who do you think Dricus should fight next? Do you think he should take on the loser of Borralho versus Imavov? I think that would be a good idea. Maybe we could have that long overdue RDR versus DDP matchup. That'd be great. There's a lot of fun options for both of these fighters. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. And thank you for 60 subscribers. We've hit over 60 subs. Thank you so much.